Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Skylar Kuhn, and I'm Assistant Director of Admissions here at Washington College. I'm very excited tonight to introduce our three panelists who are all alumni from Washington College and involved in our Watershed program for alumni volunteers. All three of them are now working in the field of education, and they're going to share how their experiences at Washington College helped them to launch their careers. Joining me tonight are Megan O'Leary, Bree Caruso, and Mariah Thomas. We will begin tonight with each panelist introducing themselves and answering some frequently asked questions, and then we'll end with our Q&A session. Please use that Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to submit questions for our panelists tonight. You're welcome to start sending in those questions whenever you think of them. If we're unable to answer your question live, your admissions counselor will be in touch with you later. Keep in mind, if you submit a question anonymously, we will be unable to follow up with you as we won't know who asked the question. We've allotted 1 hour for this session, so without further ado, it's my pleasure to hand over the floor to our first panelist, Megan.
Hi, everyone. I am Megan. Do you want me to jump in and start with what my current job is, Skylar?
That would be great, sure.
Perfect. Okay. So as Skylar said, my name is Megan. Currently, I am the Director of Teaching and Learning at an education nonprofit called Explo that is based just outside Boston. I oversee the curriculum that is developed for our rising 8th, 9th, and 10th graders for a summer program and coordinate the training of our college-age instructors to teach our courses. So once you're at WAC and you're looking for a fun summer job, look me up. Before I landed here, I was a middle school teacher in the Baltimore area and also an assistant principal for pre-K to 8 school. I'll pass it off to Bree.
Thanks, Megan. My name is Bree. Right now, I am the interim campus day programs manager. It's a kind of a long title at Islandwood, which is an outdoor school located here on Bainbridge Island, right outside of Seattle, Washington. So that's why it's still laid out over here. My role includes designing curriculum, planning out the programming for students through the 3rd through 6th grade range. Students come to our campus and get to have outdoor environmental education-based experiences. And I am fortunate enough that my instructors are graduate students through the University of Washington. So I also mentor and work with them around their educational practice. Before this, I also was a graduate student through Islandwood and received my master's from the University of Washington after my time at WAC. And I'm going to pass it to Mariah.
Thanks, Bree. So my name's Mariah, and I am currently a 4th grade teacher. I teach in Harford County in Maryland. So I stayed in Maryland, and this is my 2nd year. So it was an adventurous first year with the pandemic and an adventurous start to our 2nd year. I graduated in 2019, so I'm kind of still new at things, but loving what I do. So I'm excited to get to talk to you guys a little more and hear what kind of questions you have.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited to have these three panelists with us, especially tonight. So we're going to get started with those first 3 frequently asked questions. I'm going to pass the first one to Megan. So Megan, can you tell us a little bit more about your current job? I know that you all mentioned your job titles, but can you just tell us a little bit more about what your day-to-day is like?
Definitely. I love my day-to-day job because I'm constantly planning for the best possible experience for students over a short period of time. When I was in college, I definitely thought I wanted to be a teacher and be in the classroom, and I loved doing that, and I would go back to it. But this opportunity to make this magic happen for 6 weeks for students in the summer is something I really love. So I get to look at curriculum that is not the curriculum you'd think of. I'm not teaching math. I'm not overseeing language arts. We write classes like molecular gastronomy, and kids get to cook and experiment with science. Or Zombienomics is a class we teach that's about learning economics, but through this lens of an apocalypse has happened and how are we going to set up our economic system, which is really exciting. So I get to look at that curriculum, build it out, do a lot of research and look at current practices and respond to things that are happening in the education world today. And then I also, as I mentioned, get to work with teachers, which I love. It's a lot of college age students who are considering being teachers, who are already in an education program and want an experience that is just a little bit different than what the state's going to require or what college is going to require. And we find amazing partnerships with colleges and have had some people from WAC before who have come, who just get another experience from outside the classroom, which is nice to just see people be able to kind of grow as teachers in another way, which I love. And it's also a very collaborative environment, which hopefully all of us here will be able to share, that we have some collaborative experiences, which I think is very important to education. Bree, you want to jump in?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my current day to day, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, looks a little different. Pre-pandemic, our organization, our outdoor school, had a program called School Overnight Program, where we would have students from the greater Seattle, Puget Sound area come and spend 4 days, 3 nights with us. And during that time, they would work on environmental stewardship, what it means to be a part of a community, field investigations, a variety of different team building things. And it was a really exciting time. I got to work with different teachers from different schools, and every single week we got new students, new teachers. So it was this constant epic machine that was just churning out and getting to interact with all these different students. Now it's kind of switched into more day program space. We're operating more in that after school time, since a lot of students are having online schooling happening, and we're not partnering with schools. So it's adults and families are signing their students up. And it's really exciting right now because we are really leaning into project-based learning. So students come 1 or 2 days or 3 days a week, however many days that they're willing and able to sign up for. And over the course of 7 weeks, they get to work towards a project. And so for one of our examples is we have this beautiful pond on our 255-acre campus, and there's beavers. And so one of the questions is, should we remove those beavers from the pond? Like, what will happen to the ecosystem? What will happen to the watershed? And that's some of the things that our students get to explore. And so right now we're writing a lot of that curriculum because this is brand new for us. And that's been a lot of my day to day, is expanding that curriculum, working with our instructors, and just having a lot of fun with it. But I'm going to send it over to Mariah now.
So my job's a little different than both of your exciting fields as directors and working outside all the time. I'm just your typical public school 4th grade teacher. I teach all the curriculum. So I teach math, social studies, science, reading, writing, and enrichment groups. Pre-pandemic, I was going to school. I, was in the classroom with my kids doing small groups. We would do room transformation. So, seasonally we would decorate our room like Jurassic Park for Park State testing. That was really cool. We do like winter wonderlands and things like that. I love where I'm at. I'm in a needier area, and my kids are so grateful. So I really get to see a lot of changes going on with them. Also, I love 4th and 5th grade. So I think I like to see a lot of growth amongst my students, and where I'm at, I get to do so. As far as right now during our pandemic, it's been kind of a roller coaster. It's been very, very changing from week to week. We started out online, which was very interesting, as you can imagine, to start a school year completely virtual, even probably in high school and in college as well, with your teachers not being in class. Imagine being 9 and 10 years old. But we went to hybrid, which was very interesting, also having some of my kids online and some of my kids in class. So getting to experience that was very interesting. And now we're back to online for the time being. So who knows what's going to happen in the next month or so. But I think being very flexible has really helped me out through all of this, because we just kind of go with the flow. And I'm lucky enough with my 4th graders that they are old enough and they know how to use technology. So they're not too out of it. They kind of know what they're doing. So I appreciate the fact that they know how to read and open up tabs. And sometimes they're too good at it, but it's nice. So it's fun. Trying to think, there's not a whole lot more to it. My coworkers, my elementary school staff has made my dream of being a teacher. I've always dreamt of being a teacher since I was 4 and 5 years old. I had a playhouse in my backyard, and I would, teach all my neighborhood friends in it. So I think now finally getting adjusted and comfortable where I'm at with teaching and walking into my classroom and saying, this is my classroom. These are my students. I always dreamt of that, but now it's real and it's awesome. And I'm finally getting comfortable, because it is exciting and it's scary at first. And student teaching definitely is really, it does really prepare you, and it is a lot of hard work, but getting to be here now and just seeing my growth from last year into my second year, it's awesome. And if you guys are interested in education, you want to be a teacher or a director or work out in Washington State, like that's awesome too. So
Thank you all. So we're going to go into that second question. So how did Washington College's internship opportunities or out of classroom experiences or student teaching get you to where you are today?
I think that my experience with the education department at Washington College absolutely gave me the confidence to get to where I am today and all the places that I've been in between as well. I really felt that getting into the classroom early my freshman year when I was in Chestertown helped me build relationships with those schools and with my professors and with my fellow interns in the education department. And it just didn't feel like I was just dropped in a random room to student teach sometime in the spring of my senior year. It really felt like a culmination, and kind of like Mariah was talking about that growth that she's had from first year to second year. I feel like we all probably felt like we had some growth even just in that time from college to starting our professional careers, because we were able to feel so involved in the school communities when we were at Washington College. I won't speak for everyone, just myself there, but I would guess so. And I think, like I said, that confidence I was able to build really made me able to go into any new situation and feel like my opinions were important and my input was going to be valued, and it was worthwhile for me to collaborate with people. Definitely when I was first teaching, you're always nervous starting a new job, and I felt comfortable asking my questions and putting forth what I felt was important for our students. And I think often, I don't know what the exact phrasing is about how they say you're like always interviewing for your next job because people are watching you. And that's definitely how I found myself in an administration role. I was at the school that I'd been teaching at when that opportunity opened up. And because of the reputation that I'd gained among people in the community, I was able to step into that. And similarly with the role I'm in now, I'd worked for this program that I work full time for in kind of a consultant capacity for a little bit and just like part-time in the summers. And when an opportunity opened up full time, they approached me for the job before I approached them for it. So I think that confidence that I got from my professors really pushing me and believing in me and having a supportive team on the ground has kind of led me into every space expecting that same kind of support and asking for it and being a part of building it, which I think is definitely something I would not have gotten if I didn't have that base from Washington College.
For me, I look back and when I first got to Washington College, my thought was, secondary education major, biology, double major. I'm going to be a high school biology teacher. And as that path started to get a little gray area for me, I started exploring what other options there were in education. And I actually was chatting with a friend who was also interested in doing education. She started telling me about this wonderful field of outdoor education. Had never heard of it, didn't know it even existed. And for those who don't know, outdoor education looks a variety of different ways depending on where you're looking at. But oftentimes it's usually temporary visits to a location or educators coming to whatever space you're in and getting to explore the natural world around you and connecting that to different sciences. And that's just like a very broad definition. Like I said, it looks very different in different spaces. And for me, so I really started looking at what does it mean to be in outdoor education. And so I was like, well, I'm going to look up some internships, and that's where I'm going to go and figure out what this means. And so that's actually how I found Islandwood, was through just searching around for outdoor education internships. And fortunately enough, the Career Center helped pay for my ticket to come out here. I was able to apply and get this internship. This was back between my junior and senior year. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I remember my first day, I was like terrified to read a storybook to students at lunch. Very low risk, like there should not have been fear. And I was terrified. But by the end of my 7 weeks at this internship, I was like, I'm coming back for grad school. Like I didn't even know I wanted to do grad school until I did this internship. And then I, of course, came back to Washington College and got right to that application, was super excited about it and, knew that was my next step. And then from there, I even wanted another experience before getting back out here for grad school. And I actually worked at Echo Hill, which is a outdoor school just about 20 minutes from Chestertown. And I actually met Skylar there once. She was leading one of my programs. And that's when I was like, oh, this place is so rad. And so then I applied for an internship there as well and worked through my whole spring semester. I was at Echo Hill for a majority of the week and was only taking 1 or 2 classes at WAC. And that was counting towards my credits. And I actually stayed on and worked through the summer as well, right before I came out here. If I don't think if I was coming out here, I might have worked there even longer. So I was really grateful for the flexibility that being involved in Echo Hill and Washington College gave me, and I was able to do both and feel so much more prepared to come out here for grad school and start to be an instructor in this space. And so I was really grateful to have both of those, because I don't think I would be where I am without either of those opportunities.
So kind of like Bree, I actually had a different mindset going into WAC. I wanted to be a secondary history teacher. So I wanted to major in history and teach high school, just history classes. I took a few history courses, and then I took my first field observation in a middle school. It was an 8th grade history class. And I did the full observation, but by the end of it, I completely knew this is not what I wanted to do. So I think one thing that I loved about Washington College was that right from the get-go, you're pretty much your first year, you are in a classroom for a semester and you're observing and you're meeting students, you're talking to students, maybe you're even working one-on-one with a student at your discretion with what you're comfortable with. And having that mentor teacher just talk to you and see, because it's completely different from a teacher's perspective than it is being a student and thinking, I want to be a teacher. So when I realized this isn't for me, I took that step back and went into a 3rd grade classroom, made it into a 4th grade classroom, and then made it into a 5th grade classroom. And, I kind of got to see throughout all of those different field observations, this is where I feel I'm going to, succeed the best and where I feel like I'm going to meet kids' needs. So I think, being flexible, having WAC give you all of those options. Okay, like it's no big deal. You don't want to do that? We'll try something else. That was really nice. Another thing I really liked, I was taking some notes to hit on some different topics, guys, teacher and me. My sports teams, and I know a lot of other sports teams too, because I played tennis, they were also very, very heavily involved in the surrounding schools at WAC. I actually did one of my senior projects was a little pen pal project between my tennis team and our elementary school amongst the 3rd graders I was interning with, and just actually having kids from my school care about what was going on in the classroom and having my classroom kids care and be involved in what was happening in college was just the coolest thing ever. I actually got to bring my college tennis team into the classroom to hang out and meet those kids. And that was a really cool experience I had. But more so along the lines, I guess, of the internship aspect of it. Lesson planning, really, it's a thing. I wouldn't say I physically write out everything. But you do have to prepare, to know what you're going to teach. You can't just walk in every day, learn that the hard way, saying, all right, I'm going to figure it out this morning, 30 minutes before they walk in. No, you do have to plan ahead, right? So I think it is a pain in the butt sometimes writing out those lesson plans in college, but it really does prepare you to understand the core concepts of your lessons, that you have to engage in a warm-up. You have to have some form of assessment. These things are necessary. So it is tedious, but the professors that I had that were really they knew what they were talking about and leading you in the right direction. I felt very prepared coming into my first year of teaching, knowing what a full lesson plan consisted of, and not just a full lesson plan, an engaging one that my kids would actually care about. So I think I benefited a lot from that. Another thing is collaboration. So our small group class setting, I'm sure that many of you guys know that we're a smaller school, so our classes are very small. So I had 6 in my graduating class, and pretty much I would say 75% of what we did was collaborative. So working with another student on lesson plans, on just hands-on things in my physical WAC classroom to prepare me for when I'm actually now working with my colleagues. So other people that I have to listen to, that I have to respect their ideas and, get insight from them, because I'm not a professional. I'm still only in my 2nd year. So I think working with other students and having those conversations really did kind of prepare me to be in an environment, with other people that I enjoy getting ideas from, that I want to bounce off of. So definitely another awesome aspect. And then my last thing that I have was, I specifically remember our senior year internship. We did physical lesson plans in that lovely big binder, but we also made a website, a portfolio online. And we went to the tech lab many, many times throughout and got reassurance and fixed things and changed things, and we were given so much time to work on things to make them our own, whether it was lesson plans, whether it was incorporating videos to show student engagement, blurring out students' faces. I felt like Washington College really cared about me making my own profile, not making it, the standard teacher profile. So I was really proud when I got to go into my first interview and pull up my website and show all of the cool things that I did and how hard I worked, not just on paper lesson plans, but just encompassing all my pictures and artifacts and things, and just being really proud of it. So I was appreciative of all the time and the just awareness that they gave to what we were doing, because it is a lot of work and people don't always notice what teachers do, but they definitely gave us that grace and time. So, yeah.
Great, thank you. So we're going to go into that final opening question. And I just wanted to remind everyone, if you do have a question for one of our panelists tonight, please send it in that Q&A box. You're welcome to start sending those in whenever. So my final question before we open it up to audience questions is, what is one memorable experience from your time at Washington College? I know sometimes this question can be a little bit hard. It's hard to choose just one, but try your best. And I'll start with Megan again.
Yeah, I think I'm already going to go a little off of just one, but I'll narrow it down to one. I absolutely, the most memorable thing about my time was the time spent with the other people in the education program with me. We built a great bond amongst ourselves and with our professors. And while we all were some of us were on the lacrosse team, others were involved in different parts of campus. I worked in the admissions office. Like, we all had our own kind of places on campus, but every big event we still marked with each other. So we made sure at birthday ball, which I'm sure you'll hear about if you haven't already as you're applying to Washington College, we all got together, and we made sure that at big lacrosse games we were all together, or at I think there was a swim meet that we went to one year, just kind of taking that time to bridge the connections across where we all were on campus in this common space of being the teachers together was fun. And I was thinking about, we used to, at those events, there were 10 of us, so we'd make a human pyramid at those events. And it's something that we still do at weddings and things like that when we're all back together, which is exciting. So I think my favorite memory with those people that I was doing our internship with was, we went to the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum, which is nearby, for a field trip. And it was a field trip for us, but it was also a field trip for us as teachers to think about what it would be like to take our students there. And so we got into some of the lesson planning around it, like Mariah was talking about. It's maybe a little bit of outdoor education, like Bree had mentioned, just kind of getting out of the classroom and out of the traditional space of what we're thinking about. And that was just a great day to all kind of be together and bond and feel really impassioned about where we were headed. And as I said, we still keep in touch and are a very supportive group of each other, and are all in very different places than we were 10 years. How many years ago did I graduate? However many years ago I graduated. Bree, I'll pass off to you.
Thanks, Megan. And I think I'm going to deviate from what I was originally going to say. Sorry, Mariah. But in thinking about and hearing everything that we're talking about, the most memorable things that now looking back and I think about are the unexpected opportunity or groups of people that I got to engage with. So when I came in, like I said, you think you come in and you have this one mindset and this one frame of how your college experience is going to be. I came in originally playing soccer, and I ended up not playing anymore after the end of my first year. So then I started joining a sorority and student government and became a peer mentor. And I started to and I got to experience all these different things, and all those people that I got to engage with. I was never like, hey, I'm going to be in the student government when I leave high school, because that wasn't something I was a part of in that space. But coming into that, I had friends who were like, hey, come try this. Hey, come be a part of this. You'd be really good at this. And so it was from those unexpected groups and those unexpected experiences that I got to have some of the most important roles that I think I could have ever had. I got to be president of my sorority, which never in a million trillion years I would have thought that. And because of that, I got to create some incredible bonds with these incredible women. And some of my biggest supporters when I was going out to my internship, or I would have when I was presenting my thesis, these were the people that were coming and supporting me and cheering me on and helping me with whatever I needed to get, to that next step or to finish that paper or stay up in the library with. Maybe we're working and maybe we're studying, maybe we're not. Really just depended on the day. But yeah, just leaning into the unknown and maybe what is a little out of your comfort zone was where I found like the biggest memories for myself.
That was perfect, Brian. That was a great, I'm going to piggyback completely off of that. So I cannot emphasize enough, and I'm sure you guys have heard it many, many of times about how our small campus is truly a community and a family, and even right around in Chestertown, which I'll come back to in a second. But I, as well as Bree, I was involved in so many things by the end of my 4 years that I never would have seen myself involved in when I started. I was never recruited to play sports. And I walked on to both the basketball and the tennis team and became even more of an athlete than I ever thought I could and made so many friendships, ended up becoming team captain, worked in admissions as well. I never saw myself walking around giving tours to new families, right? I thought I was going to be just busy with schoolwork, but we really truly found time and opportunities everywhere. And my honestly biggest advice, no matter where you are, is just take advantage of everything because it's going to benefit you to the most. Being in that community, one thing I loved about WAC was so there was a job that I was presented with at the local elementary school through the school. So I was still student teaching, I was still going to classes, but whenever I was able to get in a couple hours at the elementary school right down the corner, I was with the same 5th grade teacher all 4 years. Every year they were like, do you want to help out in a different classroom or anything? And I was like, no, like I want to go back to that classroom. So the same all 4 years, I made a really, really, really tight relationship with this 5th grade teacher who I'm still in contact with now. She actually constantly sends me pick-me-ups in the mail, and just making that relationship with just a community member based around the college, was honestly the coolest thing. So yeah, I'm trying to see. Oh, birthday balls. Oh my goodness. You guys are going to just have a literal ball. They are so much fun. The breakfasts on finals week when you get to go in at 11:30 and have as many pancakes and tater tots as you want in the middle of studying is honestly so awesome. You just look forward to these things kind of on campus. I loved bingo night. It was like the best thing ever. I won my first gift card to Netflix. I've never had Netflix before, and I won it at bingo. And I mean, I have not had Netflix since then, but just these cool things that you get to do, these opportunities on campus, honestly, just make the most of it because they're awesome. You're going to love them.
That's great advice, Mariah. I definitely echo that. Just take advantage of all of these opportunities. All right, so we're going to open it up to our audience questions. And we're going to start with this one, which I think is a good one because you all have touched on it a bit, but just to hear kind of back to back. So did you all major in education or human development?
I can start. I majored in human development, and I got my elementary education certification in the state of Maryland. And I also minored in psychology. So that really coincided with my human development side of things there too, which was great.
I majored in environmental studies and minored in secondary education and didn't receive any form of a certification.
I was human development cert with elementary ed certification, and I minored in Spanish.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to hear, what you added on as a minor. I feel like so many students at Washington College do combine things too. And I know you all are coming from different aspects of education, clearly. So it's really nice to see kind of the combinations that you made and then also what you're doing now and how kind of your path still brought you to education in the end. So let's see, for our second question, For those of you who were student athletes, how did you manage student teaching while still being an athlete?
Okay, I can go. I was pretty busy, pretty busy. Um, so I did my part-time in the fall and I did my full-time in the spring, which is typical of elementary. Secondary, I believe, is flip-flopped, Bree, right? Don't they do full? I think their full is in the fall, or it's back semester.
You know, I did not do that while I was a athlete, so I am unsure.
Well, I still think for secondary that they do their part-time teaching. I think it's in the spring of their junior year and then the fall of their senior year, I believe, is secondary, is their full-time. So it depends on what sport and what season I feel like you're going to be playing in. I made it work full-time teaching during tennis season. I mean, you just make it work. Luckily, the schools around Chestertown was a little bit of a downside. My school started at 7:15 in Queen Anne's County. So I was up early going to school, but then I was able to meet every practice time because I was done by 2:10 and back on campus before 3 o'clock. So that was actually something that I benefited from. Did stink waking up a little bit earlier for elementary school because I was like, oh, I'm going to be waking up. It'll be like 8:30, like it'll be great. But no, I mean, I was able to get it all done. It wasn't miserable by all means. I mean, I think the 1 week or the 2 weeks that you're full-time teaching every subject, and maybe I had a couple games, it might have been a little stressful, probably a lot stressful. I'm probably underestimating that phrase a little bit, but I mean, you get through it. Like it flies by. So it's not a big deal. If you love sports and you love your kids, like you'll make it work.
I think too, being at the small school, having the flexibility of your professors and your mentor teacher all knowing, and your coach all kind of being on the same team looking for your success is hugely helpful too. You're not one of 100 people who's doing their elementary teaching program at this point in time. You know, you're one of a small group, so you're able to, when you have a faraway game or something like that, you know, make the accommodations you need to, which is very great at the small school.
I'll add on to that because that's a great point, Megan. You also can go along with WAC. So I went back to on winter. So the spring semester, I went back 2 weeks early and started doing observation and student teaching 2 weeks early. That way, some of that time could be kind of a fluff to when I knew I was going to be either going on a Friday game and not able to be in the classroom on a Friday or something like that. So I think, again, your professors and your coach, you're able to really map out and plan where you might be either leaving school for a half day and your mentor teacher knows that and you have that good relationship. So they're fine with you taking that half day and then you going to that important game or, whatever it is. So again, it's the relationships, it's that small classroom setting that really make a huge difference. I agree, Megan.
Thank you. So this next question says, how soon were you able to be in the classroom observing or student teaching at Washington College?
I was in a classroom observing in the second week of my freshman year, I think. I remember, doing a call home to my mom early on and saying that I had this observation coming up on Thursday. And I think she dropped the phone because she couldn't believe that I was getting in that early to start being at a school. And I loved it. And I think it was a time to really observe, like Mariah was talking about, different grades and being able to kind of find where you're comfortable. It was awesome to get into the schools that early to be able to see that experience and even just like remembering what you learn in second grade versus what you learn in fifth grade to kind of start to have that in mind as I was looking to longer term student teaching and things like that.
Yeah, I think I was able to get in there fall of my sophomore year was the soonest that I also had a shorter amount of observation hours I had to fulfill. But I was in there fall of my sophomore year and I remember I was in a AP environmental class at one of the local high schools. And one of the biggest takeaways I had was just watching this group of students and how much they admired their teacher and how much they respected her. And it's not because she was super easygoing or wasn't teaching. She was doing the full thing and she just had them so engaged. And I was like, how do I be like that teacher? And so that's my biggest and why I think I remember it so deliberately of when it was.
I think I was similar to Megan. It was probably my second or third week of my first semester right off the bat. I mean, I was strong-headed. Like I was like, I know I want to be a teacher. So they were like, all right, we're going to put you right in there. So I did do many of different observations in different grade levels, and then also working as well at that local elementary school. So I worked at that one right in Chestertown and was able to get in hours. So I was in that fifth grade classroom all the time and then doing my other outside observations. I mean, y'all, I was in the classroom all the time. Loved it.
Thank you. All right. This is a question for Bree, and anybody else who wants to jump in is welcome to also. What other opportunities are there in the outdoor education field?
Great question. Yeah, outdoor ed, what a fun time it is. The most typical I think you'll hear is as some form of outdoor education instructor. So you are working at a either outdoor school or some educational facility where they have their own curriculum. And again, they have either school groups coming or maybe they have part of the community coming and you're teaching environmental education based curriculum. That's kind of the easiest way to describe it. Again, it varies. Um, and then the other avenues that kind of also looks like is oftentimes environmental education or outdoor education. You kind of hear them used interchangeably, but they are slightly different. And to touch on that real quick, outdoor education, you kind of get a range of environmental and natural topics. So you might be talking about environment, biology, anything along those lines, or you might just it might include like outdoor based experiences. So those are some of the things you think of, like those high ropes courses, those adventure courses, things like that. All kind of falls under the umbrella of outdoor education. Environmental education is more science aligned and sometimes is associated with standards in the state. For instance, we use next generation science standards to align our curriculum. That's just kind of that point. But other avenues that outdoor education can exist is oftentimes in community outreach or community education. So sometimes getting out there into the community through a booth or maybe just a program that they're putting on and helping the public understand maybe an environmental topic or something relevant to that area. So a big thing out here is salmon spawning and the cycle of salmon and salmon preservation, the whole thing. So it's just dependent. Those are just two very like minor examples. There's lots of really cool, and that's the cool thing about education, outdoor education, is every place is so special and different and unique in the services they provide and the different experiences they provide. I highly recommend just like looking up outdoor education places near you, or maybe in areas you're thinking about, and start to get an idea of where some of those spaces are and what some of those spaces do.
Thank you, Bree. Okay, so this next question says, would you be able to explain what it's like being in the classroom freshman year? So when you all were in the classroom and you were observing or teaching, how much were you able to engage with the student?
I think it can depend on your comfort level. It sounds like for Mariah and I, we both were ready to jump in and do whatever we could do. There definitely were assignments that were very much observation based, since that's the opportunity there. But if you're willing and able to jump in, you'll learn that teachers always want more hands in the classroom to help with students. So I definitely had a group of students that looked forward to my Friday visits, where we would take time to work on some math facts or whatever it was that they needed help with that week. Which again wasn't a requirement, but something that I was comfortable stepping into, something that the teacher who was hosting me was comfortable with me stepping into, and that was enjoyable. I can definitely also say that there were people who did those observations who had the exact opposite reaction that all of us did and realized, nope, I did like playing school in my backyard when I was a little kid, but I'm glad that I now know in my freshman year that I'm done with that. And I'm not waiting to learn that until sophomore year, junior year, even senior year before I really get my hands dirty and get in there with students. So I guess that's another benefit I didn't think of earlier with that early freshman year, is that you can really start to feel your belongingness in the career path and where you want to head.
Thank you. Mariah, did you want to jump in?
Okay, I'm having a brain fart, so I don't exactly remember what I was going to say. It might come back to me.
No worries. Yeah, let us know if it comes back. We'll move on to this next question. So when did you start to take your praxis? Was it junior year, senior year?
I'm trying to remember back because I think there's a couple different praxis. So whoever asked the question, good question, and I'm sure that you've spent time already on the ETS website looking at it all. For elementary, I remember there was a like aptitude kind of test that you had to take early on, and that's a state of Maryland requirement, not a Washington College requirement to get into the program. Um, and I think you have to take that in like your sophomore year, maybe. There's a number of ways that you can get exempt from that. Not to pat myself on the back, I didn't take it because my SAT scores exempt me from having to take that. Um, but then for content knowledge and like pedagogical knowledge, that I definitely started to take my junior year. I think I took one my junior year spring and the other my junior year summer. And I think that kind of varies on when you feel like you're ready for the test. I think the window obviously is somewhere between junior and senior year, so you can get rolling on getting your certification and all for whatever state you're planning to teach in, definitely Maryland. And I think I just was like, I'll take the test and I'm ready to do it. And there, again, definitely were classmates who wanted to take it early. So if they didn't do well and wanted to do better, they could do that. So you've got a little bit of time, and I think can probably do whatever you're most comfortable with within whatever the guidelines are of the praxis world at this point in time.
I think taking it a couple years ago, so it was, you were right between your sophomore and junior year. So to be able to apply for the education program, the internship program, you have to pass that for original one, which is extremely similar to the SATs. It is just strictly like reading and math, and then maybe just a little bit of, I think, psych. And then you go into those core subject practices where you can retake a single subject if you want a better score or whatever it is. And I think I took it over winter break, I think, of my senior year, because that's really, I wanted to just hunker down for like 2 weeks and focus on that before I took it. And it was fine. It wasn't by all means that crazy difficult. I mean, as long as you study, you'll be fine.
I remember the hardest thing for me being remembering the phases of the moon. That was what I was really studying to try and remember.
That's funny. All right, so this next question says, what do you believe distinguishes Washington College from other schools with a small student body?
We'll go in reverse maybe this time. I know I looked at a lot of other small schools. I looked at Goucher, I looked at Elizabethtown, I looked at a Eastern Nazarene College all the way up in Massachusetts that had like 900 kids. So I looked at a lot of small schools, and I knew when I walked onto campus at Washington College, when I looked around at other people, when I watched other interactions. I actually didn't take a tour through admissions the first time I visited. My dad and I just drove there, walked around campus, talked to my dad's a talker, talked to some random kids, asking them how they liked the school. And then we went back after we realized, you know what, this is like pretty cool. Like, let's go back and actually now see what it's like. So I think I had a feeling. I kind of collected my own thoughts about the school first and realized, I wanted to learn more. And for me, it was really honestly, the vibes I got from other people, seeing their interactions, their happiness, and just how everyone, and we kind of touched on this earlier, I think Bree touched on it, how whether you're in the sorority, whether you're on a sports team, truly, honestly, at Washington College, like, you are not just in one group, you are with everyone. And that's the cool thing. In your classes, your partners, it's not like, oh, I don't want to be partners with them. It's truly it's a respectful community, for me at least.
Yeah, this was such a great question. I'm like, I have so many answers to this. One of the big things that drew me in, I'm originally from Cape May, New Jersey, so I love being by the water. I was like, that's a big thing for me. And so being in Chestertown, which sits right on that beautiful Chester River, I felt at home. My mom, I remember after we left after my first tour, we get in the car, my mom goes, your whole body language changed on this tour compared to any other tour. She's like, you relaxed, you seem comfortable. And that's because I, similar to Mariah, was like not necessarily looking at the buildings or listening to all the facts on the tour. I was also a tour guide, so I'm like looking back and kind of kicking myself a little. But I was looking at the interactions that other people were having. I'm like, wow, these people are people that I look like I could be friends with, which sounds weird. But yeah, so that comfortability of just being near the water, that was a huge thing for me. And just looking at the students on campus. Plus, when I was applying, the environmental studies major itself was pretty new. It was only a couple years old. They had environmental science before, and they of course had biology and all these other ones. But hearing the professors talk about it and how excited they were and all the different opportunities that came with, including like field studies and field labs. So we got to go out on the Kalanectes, which is the research vessel that Washington College has. And we got to, take trips to different wetlands and do different experiences in those places. I was like, absolutely, sign me up. I learned by doing. So this all sounds great. And so those experiences of just like where Washington College is and then like what they do with the cool environment around them and the amazing community and people around them, I was like, yeah, this is definitely it. And hearing, and like I said, those professors that just got excited about what they do, incredible professors. Professors I never even had, I had relationships with. Literally never took their course, was not even in their major, but they would like poke fun at me and we'd have this banter and I was like, we don't know each other, but this is fun too. Yeah, whole campus vibe was just right there for me and made me feel so comfortable.
Yeah, I definitely think the location was huge for me. I also looked at a lot of small schools and was kind of in this urban versus rural situation. And I feel like all small schools are going to tell you like, yeah, our professors really care about you. But in my mind, if an adult person is going to settle down in Chestertown, Maryland, like they're really passionate about what they are doing and really passionate about being there for their students and aren't there just to like do research and get to the next level and get noticed. That they really are invested in the students who are there. And same, I think the vibes was huge. Like Mariah said, I didn't want to leave high school, so when I found a place that I was ready to go, I knew it was the right spot.
Great. So we're going to move on to our next question. So this one asks, what did you get certified for if you major in human development? So if you're on that certification track and human development is your major, what grades are you able to teach afterwards?
The way I think it still is in Maryland, and Mariah, you can confirm, is that it's 1st through 6th grade for elementary.
Yep. So that's my Maryland certification for elementary school, which I'm totally cool with. Like, if I want to teach 6th grade, great. Like, but I don't really want kindergartners anymore. I've done preschool. 1st through 6th, that's a great span. It does differ though. I know by states. One of my colleagues is a 4th grade teacher. And she's in my 4th grade team and she's from Pennsylvania and has a Pennsylvania cert as well. And I think she's good through, it just depends on the state. You really have to look at it. I think she's good through 5th grade and kindergarten. So like I said, it's statewide.
Thank you. Let's see. So this is a good question. This says, what was your most beneficial class or your favorite class that you took at Washington College?
I took I'm gonna do two. I'm gonna cheat again and not follow exactly the prompt. I took a psychology class that was just learning, and it was so hands-on and experiment based. And I had Wallace, a rat who I was training, and Wallace trained so hard and he worked so hard, and then he failed at the end when we had to do our project. And it was such a good lesson of like, you can keep learning and still not kind of go through where you think you're going to be all the way at the end of the day. And that was just a great project to have to work on through a semester and have my professor be looking out for us and our lab partner. And obviously the content in that, it was a psychology course applied to what I was doing in the education side of things. And then my second was a sociology course I took called City and Suburb, that just looked at the history of the United States and how we've gotten to where we are today. with how society's kind of organized. And I was thinking of that when Bree was talking about professors she never had who she was connected with, because that was a professor who I had, but she's my favorite professor. And I would never tell the ed professors that, because they would be disappointed to hear that someone else was my favorite. But just really made that moment count for me, and that course count. I loved that.
I think this is the hardest question of the night, because I have bounced since Megan has started talking probably through 6 different courses. So I'm also going to cheat a little, but I'll make it quick. I think one of my favorites was the Bermuda environmental course. So WAC has some really great opportunities across different departments to, take a course, whether it's over the summer, on a spring break, over winter break, at these different times that aren't necessarily when you're in session at WAC. And this one was to Bermuda. So we were there for about 2 weeks, and it was an ecology-based course. So we did some scuba diving. We got to learn about the history of Bermuda. And it was really great because I did this right before my internship, which was like, wow, what a summer. But what I really loved about it was, at this point, I was about to be a senior. So a lot of the people on the trip with me were people in my department and in environmental. So we had already been in like probably 10 classes together at this point, and had a professor that we all had together. And so there was just kind of this like fun, weird family vacation that wasn't a vacation. It was class. We took a final and everything on the plane, which was another fun experience, and one that I tell everybody about. And then my other cheat course that I'm going to add to this is, since you are asked to take courses across, departments and not just in the one that you're studying, I loved taking acting. I think I am in no shape or form an actress. You will not catch me on stage, but oh my gosh, what a fun class, because you had all these other people who also were not actors and actresses. They were people there also to fulfill this requirement, and what a fun time. Helped with my public speaking. And again, another professor that I would never ever have another class with, but like such a fun time, so funny. And I laugh every time I think about the fact that I took an acting class.
It's funny you say that, Bree, because I can remember when I was a senior and one of my good friends was in an acting class and had a performance, and all of us roommates, we were like, oh, we gotta go watch, and we did, and it was just like the goofiest thing, and they did great, but it was fun. Like, you got to see your friend be an actor in a class. Like, it was cool. I didn't take acting, but I'll cheat a little too. I have 2, and I will be quick as well. My non-education favorite course was definitely astronomy. I'm not a science person, and the good thing is if you're not a science person, you can take like baby science classes. There's like baby labs for people that aren't science people. So I did an ecology of the Chesapeake Bay, where, again, I'm not a science, but I got to go out in the water. I got to release birds. And then my astronomy course, one of my favorite things is actually on my other laptop. It's my background. We did an astrophotography lab where we went out where there's no lights, probably 15 or 20 miles west of Chestertown or east or whatever way. And we took these really awesome cameras and we took pictures of the sky, and then we developed them the next lab, and just seeing literally like a landscape of thousands of millions of stars and being able to say, wow, I took that picture. Like, that's really what it looks like beyond like light pollution and all of these things, it's crazy. So that was really cool for me, being a non-science person. But piggybacking off of that awesome opportunity that Bree had in Bermuda, and it completely slipped my mind, so I'm a little mad that I'm bringing this up in the last couple minutes of us talking. I got to go to Africa and teach on an island for a whole summer, and it was terrifying and it was exhilarating and one of the most memorable experiences. I can't believe that I didn't bring it up earlier. I was with a couple other students doing different programs. So there were some doing women's outreach, there were some doing some business work in an office, and we all housed together and we all went off to our different jobs. I walked down the street with my chickens to my beautiful school with a chalkboard, and that was my job for an entire summer, and that was something I will never forget. I talk to my students now about it, and they're really engaged in seeing pictures of me in my headdress, and actually with these minimal materials. It's something that I still connect to. And it actually, it's something I'll hold forever, that my students even now can learn about and really see, oh, that's Miss Thomas. Like, that's really cool. So definitely a very memorable opportunity that WAC provided me with. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really cool, Mariah. All right, so because of time, we are going to go to our last question for the night. And this is a good one to end on, I think. What advice do you all have for incoming freshmen who are looking to pursue a career in education?
I feel like a wrapped up takeaway from all of us is not to limit yourself. I think you go into college with an idea of I want to be a teacher and that's what I want to do, and all of us have found other paths through that. So I think you might stick with where you are, but you also might take some detours or find a new way. So take advantage of those opportunities that come up to you, like going to Africa or Bermuda.
Yeah, kind of building on that and thinking about education in particular, I think my biggest advice is to think about what excites you. I have always wanted to be a teacher. I've wanted to be a teacher probably again since I was little. And again, I've taken some twists and turns, but I've always come back to science as the thing that excites me, or specifically nature as the thing that excites me. And as long as you're excited about the thing that you're doing, your students will feel that, and it'll be an authentic learning experience for both you and your students. So, and if you're doing something that doesn't feel good to you and isn't necessarily what you're excited about, they'll feel that too. So by staying true to what you want to do and to what excites you and your passions, that is like half the battle right there. And that is what's going to excite and engage your students in the future, your future students.
Staying flexible throughout my internship and through now in this pandemic teaching. Flexibility is really just, you might step into a classroom, you might be a mentor teacher for a whole semester, and you might not like the way they do things. You might not like the way their room is set up or how they discipline their students. But you're getting to kind of build your own perspectives and your own philosophy of education, as we always talk about. It changes constantly. So through all of the experiences that you sit in on, engage with in students, administration, just kind of really soak it up and make it your own. So when you do step out into that field of education, you have your own direction. You know what you want to do. You know what you don't want to do. You've already tried a lesson that maybe you were thinking was going to work and maybe it didn't work. So now you know how to change it and adapt next time. I mean, reflection is constant. I'm always thinking, oh, I taught that last year and it didn't go the way I wanted to. So what can I do this year, or things like that. So kind of keeping that running record. Save all your stuff on a flash drive. If you make a worksheet, save it. That way you can use it again and change it. Readings, things like that. You're going to want to just keep it all. So don't get rid of anything. Build up your portfolio. Build up, all of the great stuff and great ideas, and try to embrace and remember that everyone is different along the way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to our panelists, Megan, Bree, and Mariah. We really appreciate you being here tonight. And thank you all to you listening in the audience. We hope that you found this helpful as you consider both your future college and then also your future career path. So again, if you had a question tonight that we were unable to answer live, your admissions counselor will reach out to you as long as we have a name associated with that question. And I also wanted to remind everybody that Washington College is open for public campus visits. We're doing them in smaller groups in compliance with the CDC guidelines for COVID mitigation. So if you haven't been to visit us yet, then I definitely encourage you to do so. Thank you all so much. Have a great night and take care.